What's up, Night Owl? Steely here, back with another video, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to run the Rime of the Frostmaiden quest, Lake Monster. This quest is probably the shortest of all of the quests in 10 towns, and it's the one that I think I would recommend the most for a first level party. A lot of it takes place on a boat, and it's basically just a fishing trip. The quest is just a fishing trip where you run into a lake monster and deal with that however the party sees fit. So it's a great quest for a first level party, in my opinion. The way the party can pick up this quest is either they hear rumors about the lake monster terrorizing fishermen and then they decide to come to Bremen to check it out, or they're just exploring Bremen and they happen across Grinsk, who is looking for fishermen to go out and catch fish, in which case they'll meet the lake monster. So Grinsk Barrel Boar, who I mentioned in the Bremen town video, I'm going to bring up again here, gives the quest to the party. And it's actually a combination of Grinsk and Tali, and I'll talk about that in just a second. But Grinsk got really drunk the night before and offered a job to a couple of fishermen. As the party approach, Grinsk mistakes the party for the fisherman that he met because he was really drunk. So he tells them, hey, you're here for the job. Get out there and start fishing. It's at this point that your party will probably correct him and say, oh, no, we're not the fishermen that you met last night. You got us mistaken. Or they'll just roll with it and say, oh, yeah, that's us. Let's do it. Either way, Grinsk is going to offer the party 2 rowboats to loan to go out and go fishing. And it's at this point the party will probably notice a giant bite mark in the side of the rowboat. This is done courteous to the lake monster, and which is why he no longer has those fishermen that were operating the rowboat before. If the party asks about it, he will lie and say that the ice flows did some damage to the boat, and with a DC 11 insight check, they can see right through that. And there's a really funny roleplay opportunity to just describe this giant bite mark that is clearly not from a piece of ice, and the party can really have fun with that. But Grinsk just waves it off like, "Look, are you gonna fish or not? Don't worry about that. That's not even a big deal." Definitely have some fun with that roleplay encounter. Shortly after all of this, Tali will approach and scold Grinsk for lying to the party about what happened to the last fisherman and not telling them about the lake monster. At which point, Tali will fill in the party about the lake monster and express their interest in finding out more information. They really want details about this lake monster because, as I mentioned in the Bremen town video, Tali is a researcher of the local fauna and has an invested interest in the animals, especially this lake monster. You see, Tali believes that the recent events in Icewind Dale, the everlasting winter, this climate has had an effect on the local fauna and is interested in getting down to the bottom of it. Shortly after Tali shows up, Grinsk will storm off in frustration and just tell the party to get to work. I would add that he goads the party possibly. Maybe says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, you folk, a lake monster wouldn't scare you folks. You guys look capable. Why don't you, are you're not cowards, are you?" Or something like that. Just goad the party into going out there and dealing with that lake monster. Or you could up the reward. He's currently offering 5 copper pieces for per knucklehead trout, but you can up that if you like. Once that's all said and done, the party's ready to take their rowboats to the open water and start rowing. These 2 rowboats do have hit points, and the one with the bite in the side of it is still functional, but it has 36 hit points, as opposed to the fresh rowboat, which has 50 hit points. When the party starts rowing through the ice flows, they have to make wisdom checks. And if they're proficient with water vehicles, they can add their proficiency bonus to it. And any failures will start adding D6 damage to the boat from hitting the ice flows. And as a DM, you should probably read up on extreme cold, the effects of extreme cold and cold weather clothing. If the party's wearing cold weather clothing, they don't have to worry about extreme cold. They automatically succeed on the checks unless their clothes are wet. And if the boat is damaged enough and breaks, they're going to fall into the water and they're going to have to swim back. These rowboats can only support 4 medium creatures. So depending on the size of your party and the races they chose, if the boat takes enough damage, they may end up having to swim back to Bremen. So that's something to keep in mind. Try to come up with, the book doesn't say specifically how much distance is between Bremen and the open water and how much distance between the open water and the encounters. So it's really up to you. If the party does have to swim back to the frozen part of the lake, I would go ahead and just introduce the lake monster right there. Whether that be while they're swimming, the lake monster might come up and be curious about them, or when they get to the actual frozen part of the lake where they can stand and start drying off, the lake monster could show up then. The rules for frigid water are pretty harsh, so read up on that. Make sure you have a feel for it and have a plan in case your party ends up in the lake. You could have some other fishermen show up and save them. You could have the lake monster feeling generous. Either of those, just make sure you're familiar with those rules and have some kind of plan. If the party is just stranded and a boat goes down and there's not enough room on the other boat, a creature can be immersed in frigid water for a number of minutes equal to their constitution score. So chances are it's going to be between 10 and 20 minutes before they start making checks. And those checks are going to start stacking exhaustion. And at 6 exhaustion, they're dead. Of course, if they have resistance or immunity to cold, they automatically succeed on these checks. But remember, every minute they're making a check for exhaustion. Once the party is out in the open water, it's time to do some fishing. Now, the book has a list of events that can happen that you roll on, random events that happen every hour. If you've been watching my videos, you probably know that I don't care for that kind of thing. So read through the events, find the ones that you like, script them out, and then when you're ready, introduce the lake monster. Once the party meets the lake monster, they have the option to either talk to it and try to convince it to stop harassing fishermen, or they can attack it, take it down, and that will cause it to run off. The lake monster is a plesiosaurus that has been awakened by an evil druid named Ravison. Ravison worships the Frostmaiden, and she explores Icewind Dale looking for dangerous monsters to awaken and send after 10 towns to harass them. When the party meets this awakened plesiosaurus, they have the option to negotiate with it rather than just attack it. The plesiosaurus serves Ravison, the evil druid, because it's afraid that Ravison will take away his new gift of intelligence, and he's afraid to go back to being just this dumb monster wandering the lake. The plesiosaurus will tell the party all of this. It'll talk about how it used to swim around the lake eating fish, and how Ravison showed up, and it will use Ravison by name and the Frostmaiden, and how Ravison serves the Frostmaiden, and also how Ravison gave it this gift of intelligence. And the plesiosaurus will also tell the party that it doesn't want to go back to being a stupid beast. The book has 2 persuasion checks, a DC 14 in order to have the plesiosaurus open up about Ravison, the Frostmaiden, and its new gift, and a DC 18 to convince it that this awakening is permanent and Ravison can't take it away from it. If the party succeeds on this DC 18, the plesiosaurus will go away happy and never attack another fisherman again. At this point, the party could name it something like Nessie. They could have a point of contact here on the lake, some kind of NPC that comes up later in the campaign if you so choose. I think right on his back, like Lapras or something. Up to you. Having this plesiosaurus be friendly to the party is a really cool route to take. Even though they don't have any combat if they go that route, it's still pretty cool having this awakened dinosaur as an ally. If the party decides to attack the plesiosaurus, they're going to have to deal with this CR2 from their boats. And this is why that I recommend you change how the book has it, because this fight is going to be pretty tough. If you run this properly, this plesiosaurus is going to get, it has a 10-foot reach, so it's just going to swim down and bite the boat until they're in the water. And once they're in the water, they're probably going to freeze to death. Even if the plesiosaurus wasn't there, they're going to have to swim through the frigid water and start taking exhaustion checks to death. However, if the party manages to cut this plesiosaurus's HP in half from 68 to 34, the plesiosaurus will retreat and never be seen again. Quest complete. I recommend changing how the book says introduce this lake monster to the party, because the way they have it, the party has no way of indicating that the plesiosaurus is intelligent. So it's really just a guess and just like, hey, please don't hurt us, and then the plesiosaurus may communicate, but it doesn't communicate by default, and the book even says that it doesn't show any signs of intelligence, and more than likely you're going to end up rolling on the chart to have the plesiosaurus actually attack the boat. So all of these are going to lead to the party attacking the plesiosaurus, and it's just going to be a combat encounter. And again, this combat encounter is a plesiosaurus with a 10-foot reach in a boat with 68 hit points, and if it's a first level party like I recommended, then this is going to be a slaughter. And regardless of the level of the party, if that boat goes down and the party drops in the water, their con score is only going to be between 10 and 20. So within 30 minutes, whoever's in the water is probably going to freeze to death, unless of course they have that cold resistance or immunity to cold. So look at what your party has, look at what your party's capable of, and take that into consideration about how you introduce this plesiosaurus. I like the idea of giving them the option, like they know that they can either role play this out or attack it. And the way to do that, or the way that I would recommend doing that, is just have the lake monster's head pop up in the water, maybe the party's role playing and a fish just got away. Maybe they're having some kind of conversation about something. Lake monster's head pops up, just kind of gives them a look, like an inquisitive look, just out of curiosity, and the party could look at them and say, "Hey, that's the monster, attack," or they can say, "Oh, hey there, fella," something like that. This really lets your party's characters play out rather than just attack the boat, combat starts, party freezes to death, or combat starts, we kill this really cool awakened plesiosaurus without getting to role play with it, because that's good. That's awesome. Awaken, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I love the awakened creatures, and just coming up with a personality for this plesiosaurus and a cool voice. If you're into that kind of thing, can be really fun for this plesiosaurus. This role play encounter could work. And maybe if your party wants to have that combat, you could have the combat go. And at some point in the combat, the plesiosaurus takes a bite out of a party member and yells, "Ha, got you," or yells out something. And the party just like full stop, whoa. Or in the combat, maybe this thing's a lot smarter than it lets on, like has combat tactics. But that's entirely up to you. Just something to keep in mind. I would definitely change how the book has introducing this plesiosaurus. Don't be afraid to just make this give the party more of an option whether to handle this role player combat. Once the party gets back to Bremen, they can meet up with Tali and give them all the details that they wanted about this lake monster. As a reward, Tali will give them 5 gold pieces and a spell scroll. Now, I would definitely fluff up this loot. 5 gold pieces. This is why I recommended this for a first level party, because it's short and the reward is 5 gold pieces. Any party above first level, and that's an insult. And in my opinion, it's already kind of low, 5 gold pieces. But change the spell scroll. I made it a scroll of knock. If you plan on running the White Moose quest, and I have a video on that, make it a scroll of Moonbeam or some kind of utility scroll. If you got a wizard, what kind of wizard are they? A necromancer? Are they illusionist? Give them a scroll that fits with their theme, something like that. As far as the gold reward, 5 gold pieces. If your party size is 5, that's a gold piece each. That's horrible. So depending on the size of the party, give them a good split, maybe 10 gold for each of them, something like that. Give them a little more gold to get them going. 1 gold each is just, what is that? And that's it for the Lake Monster quest in Bremen. Again, this is a really short one. In my opinion, it's perfect for a first level party, but read up on the rules for frigid cold and extreme cold, frigid water. Read that plesiosaurus stat block. Determine how the party is going to meet that plesiosaurus. Don't let the roll determine it. Read it, decide if your party is combat heavy and if they can handle the cold water, make it a combat encounter. If the party is all about role play and wants to talk to, and you think somebody in the party would like to meet an awakened plesiosaurus, which is just cool. If there's a druid in the party, they're going to want to talk to this plesiosaurus. So let them do that. Present this plesiosaurus in a way where they actually have the option. And finally, the quest reward, please improve that quest reward. 5 gold and a spell scroll of animal friendship is it's not enough in my opinion, but that's entirely up to you as a DM. That spell scroll of knock, spell scroll of moonbeam. If you plan on running White Moose, make it a moonbeam. Anything like that. Also, I want to note here, I house rule that anyone can use a scroll. Anybody can use a scroll. I like the idea of giving the party a scroll and having them decide what to do with it. Like just presenting scrolls like knock or like moonbeam and things like that anybody in the party can use. Especially my favorite, actually, this is for a whole nother video, but I'm just going to mention it here. Scroll of Raised Dead. So that's a perfect reward. I know it seems like a lot. It's a high level spell, but a Scroll of Raised Dead saves a party member. Lets their party keep a character. If somebody dies, if some bad rolls, or if you present an encounter that was just too much, a Scroll of Raised Dead is my favorite low level party reward because it keeps a character from dying. Low level parties die. At higher levels, it's not so much of a problem, but at low levels, losing a character is horrible. Scroll of Raised Dead. This is a good spot for a Scroll of Raised Dead if you don't mind that kind of thing. But it's up to you. At the very least, please change that reward. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know how YouTube works. Hit those buttons. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which of the 10 Towns quest is your favorite. And if you're a DM looking for players looking for a DM, make sure you join the Discord. Link in the description. Come by, ask questions. Let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you at sundown.